Doug Bartole is here. InPlay Oil. Doug, you were here with we decided to do a special oil, mainly oil, but oil and gas kind of section because we think that was such an interesting sector. Joseph Schachter steered us in the right direction. Great to have you from InPlay Oil. Tell me very quickly what the environment's like now for you.
Well, for InPlay, the environment is looking really, really on the upside. 17 was a great year for us. Oil prices started hitting above $60 going into the end of the year, 65, 66 here the last week or two. A lot of signs on the oil side that things are getting better. We're very optimistic about what's happening. We have hurdles, as always in Canada, but there's a lot of good signs showing that things are going to be moving forward in the right direction in the near term and even going beyond that.
One of the challenges, of course, is how tight it is to transport the oil. That's what we're having the big debate on right now with Kinder Morgan. How easy is it to switch from the pipeline to the rail, for example?
And that goes into the differentials that we've seen kind of blow out in the last few months. Due to that little spill at Keystone in November, backed up the oil into Canada, and we're still trying to get rid of that backlog. But it shows you how tight we are to the markets of getting our product to a sales position.
Well, I had a lot of people, by the way, I did a comment the other day because I said, a lot of people don't understand that Canadian oil is discounted because we only have one customer, 2/3 of it. Your company's a little easier because you're not selling heavy crude. Your InPlay does what's called light crude, and so you fetch a better price for that alone because the refining process is easier. But still, it just points to this challenge, and we've obviously got a huge tug-of-war between Alberta and BC at this moment.
Yeah, no, definitely do. Again, access to other markets other than the U.S. is key. U.S. will still always be our biggest end user, but getting world prices is huge. It's huge for Canada.
Yeah.
Just the tax money that we're losing based on refineries in the east taking world oil prices versus what we're paying is enormous. So there's lots of good
700,000 barrels going into the east at world prices. We're selling 2/3 of our oil at the discounted, that was called Canada Select price. I figured we're losing about these numbers I've seen the last week, about $26 billion a year.
Yeah, you're right. Like, depending on the pricing, I've seen anywhere from 20 to, back in 2014, we were probably losing 30-40 billion a year easily.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's a big issue. That's why we're hearing it. And let me ask you this. Are you finding the reception, Joseph Schachter, our oil analyst, and great distinction between what's going on with the stocks and what's going on with the price, and the stocks haven't caught up, which is why he thinks there's an opportunity, stock side. Are you finding more interest in the sector now? I'm talking maybe institutions, maybe individual investors.
So slowly, the institutions are still slow to the party. A lot of the resource funds have been sort of decimated in the last few years, so there's less of them out there. There's less money on these smaller funds that invested in smaller companies. The generalists haven't come back. The generalist funds haven't come back in a big way yet, but they are picking away, but typically at the larger caps, the more liquid names. With that said, we're starting to get some individuals, hopefully the retail people take advantage of this right now, because I do agree with Joseph, there is an opportunity. Even beyond that, right now it reminds me so much of the late 90s in the tech boom when it was crazy. Yeah. And then when it corrected hard, and there was a mad rush back to resources and hard currencies and cash flow and profitability. And this is setting up very, very similar to that. So I do hope that more retail people take advantage of this time before the institutions, really come back in a heavy way. So.
Well, I'm glad you were here at the World Outlook Conference with InPlay Oil. Doug, thanks very much for taking the time.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Look forward to chatting again in the near future.